Okay, we're reaching the thumb, inhaling up, exhaling down, going down. Allow your mind and body to relax. Okay, that's one lap. Shall we do it again? Okay, so again, tracing your finger up, going all the way up, inhaling, and then exhaling. Do it at your own pace for this time. You don't need to follow me. When you go up, you inhale. I think it's very straightforward. When you go down. This time round, I want you to focus on a different object. I want you to focus on the area below your nostrils, above your upper lip. Focus on the air coming in and going out, as if it's the only thing in the world while still continuing to trace, right? So try to focus on the area below your nose, trills, and above your upper lip. Okay, going down, continuing. I think you know how to do it by now, so I'll let you silently do it. You can do it at your own pace. Observing any smells, the temperature of the air, any motion of the air as it goes in and out of your nostrils, past your upper lip. If you feel distracted, just bring your attention back to your breathing, your tracing. When you reach the end of the base of the wrist, you can restart again. You can do it as long as you like on your own time, but try to finish it when you reach the other side of your palm again, when you reach the wrist. Appreciate that moment, pause for a while, and then at your own time, you can return your attention back to me, back to your laptop or your phone screen. Okay. Any thoughts, questions? We can actually take a few questions, and if you have time, we can do it before we do the second exercise.
Yeah, Bjorn, I noticed something interesting, especially in the second part. It's like you cannot put your mind into two things at the same time.
That's right.
So that's actually something interesting, because all this time we've always tried to multitask and everything, but perhaps it's true. It's actually a myth.
I do the same thing as well. You know, like when you do that, you just now you realize that the multitasking was difficult. Okay, I'm shifting to a sitting position because it's late in the evening, and you know, like I've been doing standing meetings for too long. So yeah, it's when you split. I mean, humans, some people can multitask better than others, but it also means that you're splitting your brain power into two different things. So hopefully both things are equally important, but rarely are they equally important, right? And maybe you are even juggling three different things. If you're doing something important, it's always best to focus on one, which is where mindfulness really helps in improving your attention spans, sharpening all your brain power, you know, like onto that one task, right? As you saw earlier in the exercise, we tried two different things with the exact same tracing exercise. You could focus on the sensations, you could focus on seeing, you could focus on the breathing, but you cannot do all three at the same time, right? So in the two different exercises, what I was trying to help you understand was that, number one, anything can be an object of attention. For the practice just now, you focus on the sensations, the feeling, the sense of touch. Then after that, it was the sense of smell, perhaps, right? Maybe the sense of touch when the air, if you breathe in really deep, you can feel your nostrils begin to contract, the muscle contraction. But it was very hard to balance both, right? So your object of attention can be anything. It can be your breath, it can be your hand, the sensations. When you do mindful walking, it's something else. It's probably the soles of your feet. When you do mindful eating or drinking, is something else. We could mindfully pay attention to, like say the sky, the nature around you. But generally, mindfulness helps you stay in the present, purposefully paying attention to one thing, right? So it's training your attention. But other than that, also it's trying to actually let your mind settle down, your thoughts as well. So then you begin to give your mind some rest away from all the other stressors in your life. I hope that answered your question, Anissa. Anybody else? I think we see some questions in the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to type in the chat.
And you can also use the Q&A box that we have here. So far, it's still no open questions yet.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
If there are no...
Yeah.
Sorry, Anissa.
I think maybe we can proceed with the next session.
Yeah, if not, then let's try a second practice, because I give you a bit of sense. You had a big trial, you have a bit of a trial. So let's do the other practice, which is what I call around the world. All right. This one, you can just sit down, stand up, is okay. If you think you'll fall asleep, then you want to keep your eyes partially open, looking at the ground, the desk, at a featureless, boring area so they don't get distracted. Keep your eyelids half open. If you think you will fall asleep, you can also sit up straight so that you don't just sit back and then fall asleep. Up to you. Open eye, close eye, looking at the ground. If you open your eye, right? I want you to pay attention to the environment around you, specifically the sounds you can hear. How many sounds can you hear around you right now? Your mind may be very distracted right now, thinking of a million things. That's okay. Think of a mind as a puppy or a young child. You can just gently guide your mind, like a puppy or a child, back to the object you should be focusing on. All these objects, in this case, the sounds around you. There may be a loud sound, most probably my voice. But what else can you hear when you pay curious, non-judgmental attention to the sounds around your environment? Let the sounds come to you naturally. This is not a competition. There is also no need to recognize the voice, the sound. Just say silently to yourself, oh, I hear this sound. I think I hear a different sound now. Maybe I'm still hearing the same sound. There's no need to go into a competition with yourself or with others. Just observe patiently, curiously, what else you can hear. Maybe it's the aircon. Maybe it's traffic, the rain perhaps. If you find your mind wandering, thinking of other things, it's okay. Your mind wanders naturally. That's why this is called training. Gently guide your mind away from the distraction and come back to the sounds around you. Let other distractions gently, slowly fade away, refusing to pay them any attention, letting your mind settle down into the immediate sound environment around you. Now that you have probably adjusted better to your environment, I'd like you to gather all your attention into a familiar area below your nostrils and above your upper lip. I'd like you to join me in taking 3 deep breaths. There's no need to breathe in very, very hard. Just take a slightly deeper breath than usual. Breathing in, observing all the air as it enters your lungs. Breathing out, feeling the air rushing past your upper lip, the nostrils. A second deep breath, breathing in and breathing out. Trying to observe as much as you can with the exhalation. And final deep breath, breathing in and breathing out. Paying attention to the area that the air is in contact with as it enters and leaves you. Now breathe normally again. Allowing your mind to focus everything around each inhale and each exhale, as if your breathing is the only thing in the world for you. What can you notice about each breath? Is it the temperature? Is it areas of your nostrils? Your upper lip? Maybe it's a smell. Just observe in a factual, non-judgmental manner. As it is. No opinion, nothing extra casted on the breath. I'll give you some time. If you feel your self dozing off, just gently open your eyes, maybe shift around. Be aware that you are opening your eyes. Be aware of you shifting around because these are distractions temporarily. Then return attention back to your breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Each inhale natural, each exhale being natural too. And finally, let's take in one last deep breath, slightly deeper than usual. Observing this fresh breath, new breath in the present moment, and then exhaling out. Try to expel your lungs of every breath. Now ground yourself back to the sounds of the environment. Other than my voice, what else can you hear? Coming back into the real world and at your own time, Gently open your eyes fully if you kept them partially or fully closed. And come back to the screen, back to us again at your own time.
That was refreshing.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know whether everybody had the same opinion. So I would love to hear from anyone how that felt.
Yes, feel free to share your experience, guys. And if you have any questions regarding what you just felt during the exercise. Because for me personally, like when I started to listen more carefully to the sounds, it's like you suddenly realize that there are different layers to the sounds around you. Like you begin to notice small things, and then yeah, it's relaxing. It's definitely relaxing. Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions? How did that feel for everyone? Don't be shy. But just in case you're shy, I'd like to show you something on the science part. This is what happens in your brain when you are being mindful. All right. Some of you may be beginners, so you will not encounter all 4 cycles. But have we done this before, Anissa, Millie?
I don't think we've. Yeah,
Good,
we
this is
talked.
new then. Yeah, because yeah,
Anyway.
generally when your mind is not doing anything, it's probably thinking of 1,001 things, like a highway. Yeah, your mind is thinking a lot of things. There's all these colorful areas in your brain. And maybe they, like it looks really like a rainbow. When you start being purposeful, pay attention to the present, you start being aware. Wow, my mind is actually thinking of 1,001 things, right? How many things can you think of? Maybe you don't have 1,000, but maybe 5 or 6 things. As I ask you to do all these uncomfortable exercise, your mind is challenging it. Why is Bjorn asking me to do this thing? Why did I come for this session, right? But you're becoming aware. And when you're becoming aware, this green part, this orange part of your brain is shifting. There is actually changes in your brain, right? And then the research goes on to show that when you are, remember what I said about your mind being a puppy and a young child, you gently guide it back to the thing, the object that you should be paying its attention to, the mind shifts again. Different areas of the brain is lighting up, right? These are MRI scans, from this neuroscience research. You're reorienting it back. That process of reorienting is a distinct phase by itself. And finally, if you are lucky enough to have half a second, 1, maybe 2 seconds that you have focused attention on the thing that you're actually supposed to be paying attention to, you're training this, what they call the mindfulness muscle or the attention muscle. This area is what you try to reinforce time after time. Your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, right? This is where your mindfulness is training you. It's not a bicep. You cannot flex it to show anyone. Like you probably can't see how strong or weak it is unless you want to go and do a brain surgery, which I don't suggest anybody do for fun, right? But this is what's happening in your brain because neuroscientists, a lot of people in the public have been asking what happens. How do I know it's working? Well, there's no good way to find out, but like the research can show that, right? And of course, there are some devices where you can track your stress levels, your mind levels as well. But before we go, and I know they're running a bit over time, I like to tell everyone that this is a cycle. It's just like going into the gym. You lift a weight, you flex, you gotta let it down. You don't just flex it all the way up and then you leave it there. You don't just stay there. Similarly, you don't stay at stage 4 and think, oh, I'm a successful meditator. No, you are you will naturally let go. You don't have to force it to lose itself. Your brain will naturally lose its sustained attention. Maybe do this back here again. Even the most experienced meditators may never have a full cycle during a meditation. And even if they do, they will go through this cycle all the time. The cycle of going through these 4 phases is the practice. Sometimes, if you're a beginner, you only reach from 1 to 2. You reach 2 and you're like, like I cannot go somewhere. What am I supposed to do? This is what you're supposed to do. Even when you go from 1 to 2, back to 1, back to 2, it is still a practice. Think of it as lifting a slightly, like a lighter dumbbell, right? It's not as heavy, right? If you're lifting a heavier dumbbell, maybe you will go through all phases. But this is the practice. The journey is the process is the training, right? This is what mindfulness is about. It's just like lifting dumbbells, but it's for your brain, right? And that's what I have to say for this session. It's 5:34, a public holiday tomorrow. If you want to stay around, hang back, ask a couple more questions, I think I can spare a few more minutes to, if you want to join me, Millie and Anissa. Otherwise, I can answer questions, but if you need to run off, go off, have a good long weekend. Maybe I'll see you again. Back to you, Anissa.
Yes, so we just happened to receive one question here from Wei Jie Qi. So the question is, from your experience, what is the advantage of doing this in a group setting over an individual setting?
Oh, very good question. Yeah, in a group setting, that's what I was trying to create at the start of this practice, where everybody turns on their video. A shared experience actually will bring more. A shared experience actually brings a bit more empathy, and you actually learn faster as well. Because when you are in a group setting and you have people sharing their opinions, what they went through, if we have more time, we could do that, right? But 30 minutes is actually too short for that. You get to learn what other people experience. You may have the same, you may not have the same, but they may be slightly ahead or behind you, and you have something to share, or there's something to teach you as well. So that helps to build a level of trust, a level of co-learning in that kind of environment, right? And generally, when we move on to the more experienced practices, you can practice on another person. So what I taught you today is a very self-directed practice. But when you have other people, we can then do more, as in, like try to do something like a gratitude practice. For example, you can thank the person beside you for something as simple as just being there, for you, or maybe, making eye contact and helping with a raised hand, or, a sharing, that what you feel is normal. They feel the same way. They feel something new, so that you learn something new as well.
Okay. Yeah, I also have one more question, Bjorn. So
Yes.
I did some desktop research before this, and then I noticed that one of the most frequently asked questions about meditation is that many people often fall asleep when they're doing the meditation. So
Right.
is this a good thing or a bad thing, and what to do about this?
There's no good or bad thing. I mean, if you fall asleep, hopefully you got some rest, right? And I'm not kidding, right? That's good. Like if you fall asleep. But if you want to do the practice properly, I mean, but before I go there, if you fall asleep, so be it. I hope your body got some rest. Maybe it's a sign that your body is trying to tell you something, right? But then, if you try to do it properly, you try to stay awake, which is why, I suggested that you either stand up, you sit up straight, or you keep your eyes half open. And that's what the first 1 minute practice was for, right? If you can, because mindfulness is actually not about, it's actually about awareness. So you should be aware. When you're falling asleep, you're not aware. So training your awareness is actually very powerful. How does this lead into work? How does this lead into all our startup lives, our professional careers, and so on? In a meeting, when you can actually practice mindful speaking, mindful listening as well. You're being more aware of the tone of your voice. You're being more aware of that person, like the person beside you, whether it's a boss, manager, fellow team member. Are they talking about it in a frustrated manner? Are they talking about it in a calm manner, a humorous manner? You may be surprised what you can actually pay attention to when you're being more mindful, rather than maybe, like I'm teaching you and then, I'm on my phone as well. I'm like, okay, yeah, Anissa, you're telling me this. You actually miss out a lot in a conversation. So in a social setting, mindfulness means that, you are there fully aware, listening to everybody in the room. Even when somebody is not talking, you can know a lot. The person is very bored. The person is checking their phone. Who's interested in the topic? Who's not interested in the topic? Can help you decide who's going to join the project, make it a success, versus those who are not engaged. Up to you whether you want to re-engage them or maybe ask them to leave the project. So there's a practical application to mindfulness as well.
Okay. Yeah, now there's one more question just coming. So it's from Henrico Tegu. What do you think of practicing this with your family? So how do we
Yes,
in
yeah.
family context? Yeah.
Enrico, do you have kids, or you have partners, you're married, or like you are with parents? So no matter what it is, the finger breathing practice just now is actually a practice for children, right? So it's very good for them, but it's also very good for beginners, which is why today everybody's here an adult. I practice it as well. If you practice this with your family, it really depends on the nature of your relationship with your family. Some people have very tense relationships because now everybody's staying at home. Sometimes you can feel that, you can feel the tension, and so on. Practicing with family can be a little bit tricky, right? If you don't stay with them, maybe sometimes it's easier because you don't have any built up cultural habits and so on. I would say that, maybe at first you try to practice by yourself first. Once you learn more about the practice, then you can practice together with them because maybe you can share a little bit of own lessons with them, right? Because the thing here is that family, typically you're very familiar with one another. With familiarity comes, like opinions, bias, a little bit of judgment sometimes. So then they could be very frank and open with you. So then it can be quite difficult to be openly curious and non-judgmental, right? So that really depends. My answer to you is really depends. You try with yourself first. Once you appreciate more of the practice, you can try that finger breathing practice. It goes so simple, right? You go up, you inhale, you go down, exhale, and try and see what they say about it, right? Try and tell them, no judgment, do it purposefully. Use the example of the breathing thing I told you about, and try, see how it goes. Okay.
All right. Okay. So I noticed that it's already 5:40, so our time is actually up right now. So yeah, thank you, Bjorn. It's a very insightful session. So for everyone, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to Bjorn. So Bjorn, how do we contact you if they have any questions or anything, maybe?
Yeah, your best way to contact me is through e27, or you can sign up through my app and then or join me, find me on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd also like to remind everyone that we will send out a survey shortly after the webinar. And can you take your time to let us know if there are any other topics that you wish to hear about and how we can improve this webinar, or if there's anything that you would like to learn. We'd also like to remind you about our contribution program.
Sorry, Anissa, I got to run, but
all
thank
right.
you so much for this, and everybody have a good long weekend. Cheers.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bjorn. It was a very useful session. Right. Okay. So feel free to connect to us through Facebook and Telegram channel for more on community events like this. So yeah, thank you everyone. Take care and have a great long weekend. It's very good to see you all today.